Okay, so do you want to take us into 2017?
I can do. So 2017 was quite a tough choice for me. So it was a choice between Get Out, which I've probably mentioned to death in this podcast on multiple episodes, and Blade Runner 2049.
Okay.
Yeah. So both films did different and similar things very, very well. So conceptually, Get Out, in terms of its themes and its ideas, is something so novel and so new. I'd never seen anything really like it. And Blade Runner, in terms of its visuals, some of those breathtaking visuals of the decade easily. And I had to give the slight edge to Blade Runner 2049.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't seen Blade Runner 2014. I haven't even seen the first Blade Runner, actually.
Yeah. Just because maybe I'm giving more props to my boy Denis Villeneuve. One of his films. But yeah, I mean, it's in a way it's a very important film. Get Out is an important film as well, definitely, in terms of what it talks about with race relations and in America and how African Americans are treated and all of that. With Blade Runner, I think in terms of the film industry, because this is another blockbuster. It's a extremely high budget movie, and I don't know if it came out in the summer, but it feels like a blockbuster type movie. But the way it's been shot and the way it's made, it's like a indie movie. Like, it's very quiet. Not quiet, but it's very slow paced. It takes its time. There's no unnecessary action. There's like 2 or 3 action scenes in the whole movie, in a three something hour movie. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's just like a breath of fresh air. And I'm pretty sure this movie did really, really well, box office wise. And that sends a really important message, I think, of you don't have to have crazy, loud, stupid action movies that, you know,
like Transformers.
Thank God those movies are over. But yeah, this is so cleverly made, such a smart, focused story, and the message has Get Out has a message behind it. This has a message about humanity, what makes us human. In the movie, there's I can't remember what they're called, but kind of androids basically, and they find out that these androids, one of them has had a baby, which is not something that was thought to be able to be possible before, and this kind of changes their whole perception of what makes you a human being.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and then as I mentioned, the visuals extremely creative. Like, so many different environments that you're taken to, different color palettes. It's just everything you're seeing is just like a painting. And the use of CGI. There's a lot of CGI in this movie, but it never feels overbearing or never feels fake. It's all used, which is usually what you get with CGI. Is it just feels super, like what you're seeing isn't actually happening. But here it's the complete opposite, where it makes it feel even more realistic. And with a sci-fi movie, it's kind of, you can kind of need you need to have that some use of computer effects, but this does it very, very well.
No, I think definitely they're fully justified to everyone. So give some very good reasons there. So is that not your favourite film of the decade then?
2049? I don't think so. No.
Still not. Just 'cause it sounds like it's, out of all the films that you've mentioned so far, one which seems very.
I think when I was writing this, I was trying to, because Get Out is so good, I'm trying to justify why I would choose
why
this
you chose
over
it.
it.
No,
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Because it was very, very close. I was going back and forth between them, and I think this is what I landed on.
Oh, I think that those reasons are, make complete sense, and I would back that as well. Although I haven't seen the movie, but I would trust your judgment.
Thanks. What about you? I think I know what it's going to be. Should we say it on 3?
No. I think it was a very difficult one for me.
Yeah.
It was very difficult, and this is probably my favourite year for film.
Okay.
Because I watched a lot of films this year, and I think that's part of it, that you have to also explore different films and what have you. So for me, it was a choice between 3 ultimately, which was Get Out. Again, for the reasons you mentioned, a really, really just good movie.
Can I guess the others?
Yeah, if you want.
Logan?
Yeah.
And It?
So not It, actually.
Oh, okay.
Not It. Logan, yes. It, I think, would be very close. Actually, maybe it is 4. And
Dunkirk?
Yeah, Dunkirk is on my list as well. Yeah. Man,
I know you too well.
Yeah. So I would say, Get Out, really good, but it didn't get the top spot for me. Logan, again, really, really good movie, especially in terms of the storyline. I think Hugh Jackman's acting in it is amazing. It's a very like violent, bloody film, but I think it does it so well. And it again, I really, really like it. I know again, it's quite like people have quite mixed views on it, because again, people always leave a horror movie saying, "Oh, well, I wasn't scared," or all this type of thing. But that, for me, it isn't a horror. It's meant to be. It's more of like a thriller, or not a thriller.
It's a coming of age film.
Yeah. And I think what I really, really like about this film is, you know how nowadays things like Stranger Things and you know these kids back in the 70s or 80s, that's become like a big theme. I think that the way the film is done, exploring childhood fear, how each of the child has different fear, and about how, you know, coming older and coming together as friends help them overcome that fear. And it basically encompasses, you know, what is everyone fears, basically, as he's able to transform into what someone's worst fear. But when they join together, they're able to overcome that. Because I wouldn't say it is like a profoundly scary movie. It isn't. But it's about tension. It's about coming of age. It's about the children, seeing how they develop. So it is a really good film. But for me, probably my favourite film is it's a film which might be a bit surprising. It's a film called Loving Vincent.
Oh, you told me about this.
Yeah. So the reason that is because this is one of the films of the decade which has had like the most impact on me, probably, as a person. Partly because of where I watched it, the experience. I watched it in like a random independent cinema in Germany, and it felt very intimate. So, you know, cinema experiences, I think sometimes they can, just some experiences, like you said, of watching a film stick with you. And for me, this was one of them. I really felt, you know, that full experience of going to cinema with others. The film is actually completely painted. It's all hand drawn and painted, and it's one of the most like poignant films I've watched, learning about Vincent van Gogh's life, you know, through painting. You know, I think sometimes it can be difficult to get audiences to relate to characters or stuff when, you know, the visuals are different. You know, kind of like if you watch a Wallace and Gromit film, or you know, you watch stop motion, it's an extra challenge to get the audience to feel the realism, to get involved in the movie. I thought that was done so well. And just some of the themes about like the tragicness of his life, how he created such beautiful paintings, and in his life he was virtually unknown as a person, and how his post-death, even for many years after, but now he's so famous and stuff like that. A lot of that kind of gave me a lot of food for thought about life and stuff like, and also mental illness. So probably for me, that film. But I would say Get Out and It, and then Logan would be my other ones.
Yeah. No, I respect that choice, because that is such a. It's not, I wouldn't say unnecessary, but such a time-consuming choice to do it that way. And I've heard the same for one of the films you mentioned from the previous years, Anomalisa, where it's stop motion, and claymation, and you're taking it's just pictures where you're doing tiny movements, and to the level of detail in that one, and I'm sure it's the same in Loving Vincent, where it's painstaking effort, but because you love the art form so much of film, and then also of Van Gogh and his work, you're paying homage to something that deserves it. So that's really, really cool. You know, and you said this was probably your favorite year for film. I would say objectively it probably is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just for me, 2014 personally is really stand out. But when I was looking back at this year, man, there's so many big, good, amazing movies in this film. So besides the ones you already mentioned, Baby Driver, Killing of a Sacred Deer, It Comes at Night, Mother, Wind River, The Mirror Witch Stories, and I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore. And that's just the ones that I've seen. So there's a bunch more that I haven't seen. Have you got any other mentions, by the way?
I have Coco. I actually watched it. I know a guy who we know had recommended us to watch it. I watched it recently. and that's a really, really good film. I'd
Yeah.
actually really recommend it.
I've heard really good things about it.
And another one was a bit strange. It's actually a Bollywood film, surprisingly
Uh.
making an appearance. It's called Dangal. It's on Netflix, I think. But it's a really long film. I think it's like almost 4 hours. Maybe it's almost 4 hours long. I don't know. but I thought that was a really good film. Yeah. What about? Oh no, you said you.
Those are the ones I've seen, but
Mm.
in terms of the ones I haven't seen, there's 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Phantom Thread, Good Time, and the Florida Project. Oh no, wait, there's more. The Shape of Water, Ladybird.
Oh, I've heard of The Shape of Water.
Yeah, so that Shape of Water won the
Won
Oscar
an
for the
award.
best movie.
Yeah, sure.
But man, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's like, what were the years we said were bad? I think it was like 2012, 2011. There's more here than there were in those whole 2 years.
Yeah.
Probably 3 years as well. That's crazy. But yeah. Anyway, moving on to 2018.
2000. Oh yeah.
We're
2018.
nearly done.
So yeah, for is it yourself? Yeah. We'll say it's your turn.
It's my turn.
Yeah. So
Okay.
for you, what would you say is your top for 2018?
For 2018, I think you probably already know. It has to be Hereditary.
Yeah.
It has to be. I haven't been more hyped for a movie after seeing the trailer than this. Maybe Logan and maybe Mad Max Fury Road. But this, I just kept rewatching the trailer just because I thought the trailer itself is like a piece of art.
Yeah. I know what you mean. One of them ones.
Yeah. But the movie lived up to it and it exceeded my expectation despite how high it was.
Yeah.
In no way, shape or form did I walk out of this film feeling let down or disappointed. It's just, we talked about dread. This movie is dread encapsulated. Like, it's just, this isn't a horror. This movie doesn't scare you. It traumatizes you just with the things that you see. I mean, I don't know if I've spoiled it already, but I won't anyway, just because I want people to watch this film. I want you to watch this film. There's a point in this movie where after an event, you've watched analysis videos, haven't you? So you know what happens. But there's a point in this film where after which I've never literally been on the edge of my seat. I was literally on the edge of my seat.
Yeah,
I don't know if I blinked.
I think you said like the whole cinema was completely silent.
It was a pin drop silent, yeah. And for that 5 minutes was just, I just held my breath, not literally, but it was just pure, just agony, just seeing what's going to happen, and the way the characters react to what happens. So with the son or the brother, and then the mum, and when you see when the reveal happens, and then there's a scene that's like burnt into my mind of when you're seeing the mother, played by Toni Collette, when you see her like mourning, I guess, and she's like wailing on the floor. It's just like such a viscerally emotive scene, and it just sticks with you. And it's the kind of horror where it's not, I mean, obviously there's a paranormal element to the movie, but that's not what is scary about it. It's about family and relations and loss. Those are the things that are real and last. And yeah, this movie just changed me.
Yeah, it seemed like this movie actually redefined horror for you as a movie. That's what it seems.
Yeah,
like,
definitely. Yeah.
And I think, again, from an outsider's perspective, I know that a lot of it seems like it was a movie where going in, no one would have expected that huge event that happens quite early on.
No, that's the thing, because the movie is set up to that point for that not to happen.
Yeah.
And then it happens.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I definitely do need to watch it, especially because I've seen the film that eternally keeps appearing on this podcast, Midsummer.
Haunting this podcast.
Yeah, in pretty much every episode we mention it. But I haven't seen Hereditary, so yeah, I think that's definitely a film which I should watch.
Yeah,
but I'm not surprised. Although actually I am surprised. I thought you would put Ready Player One as your top movie.
That's film of the decade.
So yeah, just to explain, that's a film where I think like I literally sent Zain a message saying, "Oh, you should really watch this film" or something like that.
Well, have you seen this?
Have you seen this film? It's really good. And then he literally just messaged saying like, I think it was like a little while later saying you'd literally just watched it like the day before and like, this is terrible.
Oh man. Yeah, no. Who directs that? It's
Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg. Please don't hate me.
Yeah.
I love Jurassic Park. Yeah, no, I wasn't feeling this one.
Yeah.
It just didn't do it for me.
But I actually get your reasons of
Yeah.
why you don't like it. No, I get that. So you didn't put Avengers: Infinity War. I haven't actually seen Avengers: Infinity War either. I'm
that
really
this year?
behind on.
I don't know if. Oh yeah, well that was
Infinity War was 2018.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh okay. No, Infinity War. No, I mean it's definitely an amazing film. Infinity War, yeah. And what they did was like, in terms of the choice they made, it's no spoilers. Everyone's probably seen it, I think, besides you. Of choosing to kill all of their or for the heroes to lose at the end of that film. Like that just kind of changed the game in terms of in terms of superhero movies. I don't know if that type of thing has been done before. You knew it wasn't going to last, but the moment that
it did happen.
Yeah, it was
quite profound.
Yeah, very very good.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your film of 2018?
So again, I thought this year there was some very films that did come out were very good. So there's Infinity War, which I haven't watched, but I've heard very good things about. For me, there's also Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the cartoon kind of comic book style, which is really, again, I think probably one of my favourite animated films of the decade. I thought it was done so well. I thought it was so true to the comic book style, which is very, very different. You know, nowadays a lot of films use that very classic form of animation, which we're used to, that we see in things like Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. You know, the very that style of animation, which is very crisp, very clean, feels very realistic. This film didn't do that. It made it really comic book style. And when films, especially animated films, try a new style that is with animation, I always find it really refreshing. Again, with also some themes such as street art and what have you. Probably that was my favourite film of the year. But again, it's kind of a... Actually, I don't know. It's between that and Black Panther. Okay. Black Panther I thought was a phenomenal film as well. But I don't know. It's a tie between those two. Again, I haven't actually watched Black Panther since I saw it, and I saw it really long time. Like it was 2018, but quite a long time ago. So I actually can't actually analyze that film that much from the top of my head. But I did think that was a really, really good movie. Another good movie I liked that year was Incredibles 2.
Was that 2018?
Yeah, 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, Incredibles 2. I thought again an example of a film that the sequel does really, really nicely adds to the first film. Is a different story. There's still character development. You feel more connected to the characters by the end of that movie. The theme of the movie is so good. It's so contemporary about, you know, media, you know, the powerful media in the movie, you know, the role of superheroes in society and their responsibility versus, you know, just being normal or what have you. I thought it was really, really good. So I think those three movies are really, really strong in 2018. Any honourable mentions for you?
Yes. So honourable mentions for me would be Roma, which is it was a Netflix film, but it was probably visually it's one of those films that we talked about where the visuals are just so unique, I guess. With this one, it's a black and white film, and it's done by Alfonso Cuarón, I believe. It's director of Revenant and Gravity and those films, and this feels so different, but it feels like it's such a personal film probably for him, because it's in Spanish, I believe, and I think he's of Latin descent, and it's just such a small story, but on such a big, I think, backdrop, because I think I don't know if it's in Cuba or where, but there's kind of a revolutionary war that's kind of the on the background of what the story of these main characters, and there's some scenes in this movie that just like 1 second you're laughing, 1 second you're crying. It's just one of those movies where it just takes you through all the emotions. Yeah, really, really good movie. Also Annihilation, another Netflix film, Netflix original, very unique, very different, interesting sci-fi film. I really like that one. And lastly, Capernaum or Capernaum.
Oh, I remember when you watched this film
Yeah,
about refugees or something. Yeah.
So dealing with a very, very topical
Issue.
topical issue. Yeah, very relevant. And also delivering a very emotional, powerful story of this topic. So yeah, those would be my honourable mentions. There's still, I think, I have a lot of movies to catch up from this year, but I'm pretty sure, even if I saw all the movies from this year, Hereditary still be number one for me.
And it seems to be your favourite horror movie of all time.
That's a tough one. I'd have to think more about that. I'd have to think, because one of my favourite movies of all time is The Thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Thing. John Carpenter's
That's
The Thing.
interesting.
And that's a horror movie. But I don't know if I enjoy it for its horror elements as much as I do Hereditary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
as a favourite horror movie, yeah, maybe.
Maybe is it one of the best film of the decade?
It's up there.
In your top 5, top 3?
Top 5 probably.
Yeah.
Top 5. Yeah, top 5. I'm gonna say that. I might change my mind later.
Yeah.
Because again, I have only seen it once.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you see a movie once, and it was a certain. I think going back to what you said about Inception, where it's the circumstances around you watching that film.
Exactly, like the hype around watching.
Yeah.
But I get it though. It seems like that hype definitely is is a positive thing off the film that it could generate through the
and
trailer
then live up to
it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
yes, 2019. Do you want to, or should I?
I just did 2018, right? Yeah, you do 2019.
Okay, yeah, 2019. So, I'll say something quite interesting about 2019. So, this year, so compared to 2010, where 2 films grossed over 1 billion, just slightly, like by the skin of their teeth. In 2019, 8 of the top 10 films grossed over 1 billion.
Wow.
Can you believe that? And Endgame grossed over 2 billion.
Does that account for inflation?
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. So
and how much of Endgame?
Endgame grossed over 2 billion.
Movies. They're growing. It's still a growing industry, it seems.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. So that's insane, I think. But yeah. So this film again, this year I would say was good for film. I would say again not as good as 2017, which I say be the high point of the decade for me. My top choice, I think, fairly solidly would have to be Joker. I think that Joker does have its critics. I mean, we've certainly encountered people who, even in our university, who criticize it. But I think what this film is at its heart is a character study, and I think we discussed beforehand a lot about what we wanted and our expectations of the movie, and I feel that was delivered. I feel like it's a movie which so well encapsulates themes in our society which are important and have been important for a long time, surrounding social justice, good and evil, and I also think that the performance and kind of this descent into what the Joker is was done really well. The tone of the movie I think was done extremely well. The performances. And again, just some of the visuals again of this gritty city, dark Gotham City vibes. I think I really, really felt that. And yeah, the performance by Joaquin Phoenix, is that how you say his name?
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix is really, really good. But I would actually say. No, I'll mention the honourable mentions afterwards. What would you say to that?
I agree with everything you said, and I think we've discussed this to its full extent in our Joker review. Everything we loved about this movie, the few minor things we didn't like, and in the Joker review, I did say that Joker was my favourite movie of 2019, and I couldn't see anything beating it. But But there was another film that I saw in 2019 that I thought I enjoyed more than Joker, and that was The Irishman.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Because The Irishman for me felt like so my favorite movie of all time is Goodfellas. I think it's one of the I don't know a movie that's more entertaining as a movie than Goodfellas. every scene is like it feels like the final scene in the movie in terms of like it's so. Well, a better way of describing it would be every scene feels like a standalone performance, a standalone thing, just because it comes to a crescendo and then it finishes, and it's excellent. Everything's just excellent. It's 10 out of 10 across the board. This movie, The Irishman, felt like a mature version of Goodfellas, where Goodfellas is kind of mafiosos in their younger years. It's very active, it's very violent. Not that The Irishman isn't violent; it's very violent, but it's more so a mafioso in his not past his prime, I guess. And it's kind of reflective of the director Martin Scorsese, who is, I wouldn't say he's past his prime. This is one of his best films, but he's older than when he made Goodfellas. He's in his 70s now, I think maybe 80s, and it feels like a mature man's film. It feels like someone who's thinking about, at the end of life, and who's thinking about, people who are coming to the end of their day. So there's a parallel between two scenes that happen in the movie. So early in the movie, you see them they're not young, but they're a bit younger, and they're kind of breaking bread and drinking wine, and that's a very Italian thing. And they have the best wine, the best bread. And you see 30 years later, or 20, 30 years later, whenever they're in prison, and they're in their old age. Joe Pesci, the way he performs someone who's extremely old, it's like patience that we see, like the way he's like portraying arthritis and like his shaking of his hand. It's incredible. But this time they've got grape juice and stale bread.
Okay.
Like, it's like for all of their lavishness and they were living life up, everything came to bite them in the back. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
For all their crimes, this is the world getting back at them. This is retribution, basically. And that was such the parallel between those two scenes was so amazing. And like there's so many moments like that in the movie where you only think about it afterwards. So for example, and I'm going to spoil it, I'm sorry, but Jimmy Hoffa is one of the characters in the movie, who was do you know about Jimmy Hoffa?
No.
So Jimmy Hoffa was the head of he was head of the unions. He was head of a group of a union, I think, and he was known to be heavily involved in working with the mafioso. And he calls Robert De Niro's character at one point, and the first thing he says to him is, "I heard you paint houses," which basically means I heard you like kill people. And then later in the movie, and they form like this friendship. They're the best of friends. All of this, and then Robert De Niro's character has to kill him. He's the mafia they're like, this has to be done. I'm sorry, there's no other way. We wanted it another way. And that scene is just, because for 2 hours pretty much you've seen their friendship grow, and they've bonded, and they couldn't be closer, and he trusts him with all his life, but in the end he betrays him because that's what he values more. He values the mafia rather than his friendship. And the way the whole scene plays out is amazing, because at one point you think he's not going to do it, and then he does it, and then it's just very chaotic, and it's not ordered, and it's very, very unclean. And that's unclean meaning like all over the place. And just the fact that the first thing he said to him was, "I heard you paint houses," and then ironically he's the one who ends up killing him. That I just thought that the way that there's so many things that loop around like that. But yeah, I could talk all day about this movie. It's in the forefront of my mind, I guess, because I saw it recently, and it is one of the movies you think about afterwards. In the same way for me, Goodfellas was, where I can't get it out of my head.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's got to be. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, it's not Joker. Joker was a close one as well. Yeah. But it is going to be The Irishman for me.
So any honourable mentions?
There's a few actually. So a lot of these are probably the same as you actually. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Parasite.
Yeah, Parasite I would say would probably, for me, maybe come second to Joker for me in the year. Yeah. I thought it was a very, very good film.
Yeah. I would put it on par with Joker. I would say they're about the same for me. I wouldn't be able to choose between the two for second choice. Avengers Endgame, Toy Story 4, and Marriage Story.
I think a film which, on reflection, might surprise you, which actually, I don't know.
Are you going to say it?
Which it's going to make us another return. Is actually Midsummer. It may be because I haven't seen Hereditary, and obviously having seen that, it would have been a film which you compare with. But looking back, I feel like what I really, really liked about Midsummer was a horror movie that was done in a place that was portrayed as being not horrific at all, if that makes sense. In that, with some films, they'll show you like a nice setting, but it feels eerie. In this, it didn't feel like that. Like the place that they were in was genuinely beautiful. It was genuinely really nice. And I thought, again, the acting, as we agreed in this movie, I thought was really good. And I thought it was, the build up in the movie was really good as well, which was partly from the trailer, having seen the trailer, and the characters' dynamics and stuff like that. And the start of the movie I thought was really good. I do still think it was let down by the ending, but I would say that was still, for me, maybe that would be third in the year. Maybe above Toy Story 4, I don't know. I did really like Toy Story 4, but I would probably put Midsommar above Toy Story 4.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely had its pros. I know we've become like a running joke to egg on this movie, but the build-up was great. The scene initially at the beginning was so reminiscent of the best parts of Hereditary, which I mentioned before, of where our protagonist's family, or her sister dies, and that had a very emotional impact early in the film. And I guess maybe it just set itself up, and we were really excited going into it. We were really excited after that, and then the ending, we just kind of lost us basically, or coming towards the ending, and then everything as we mentioned before, trailing off near the end.
Yeah.
All right,
So,
that's it, man. That's that's the decade done.
Yeah.
A decade in film.
Yeah, it's definitely very cathartic, I think. Going through all those movies, I did find it like, it's quite an experience actually, just going through the movies and rethinking about the effect that they had on you.
Yeah.
And actually, I think, watching movies is such a big experience.
Yeah.
People like rail on it a lot, like, oh yeah, movies lazy, blah blah blah. I think that nowadays, I think some people because film is now more consumable in terms of Netflix, Amazon Prime, you have all these different things. But I think cinema as an entity is important, that people still recognize the power of cinema basically.
Yeah.
And one thing I heard someone say the other day was how cinema, I don't know if I said it to you, but cinema is a universal language.
I think you did, or I've heard that before.
Yeah, and I think that's so true, that how many themes and things you can learn about other cultures, about people's lives, just through cinema. So yeah, I think that wraps up the decade. Do you have something that is your favorite of the decade?
I haven't thought about it, and I'll definitely have to put more thought into it, and I'd have to rewatch a few films before I can make that decision. I don't want to put anything to camera that I'd be like, oh, you said this, and there's a few standouts, and I don't know. Do you?
I couldn't choose a number one. I think, again, like you, there would be some standouts, but I would be difficult. Like I said, Revenant would be in that top bunch, but I'd struggle to kind of, maybe Joker would as well, but it would be tricky to kind of choose a top spot.
Yeah, and you can't do it especially with these recent ones. You need to give it time to sit and see where it stands in 3, 4, 5 years time.
Yeah, totally. Especially considering in our experience of Inception, which was 10 years ago now. So yeah, let's see.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Very cathartic. Takes you back to where you were. Where were you in life at that point when this movie came out?
Yeah.
What were you doing, and how have you changed as a person now? How are you different?
Oh, totally. I think even like in the analysis of films, like you mentioned, like Prisoners. When I watched it at the time, for me it was just like, oh man, I really don't feel good watching this movie. I don't like it, so I don't really like the movie.
Yeah.
Whereas now, if I saw it, I think I'd be able to appreciate those things much more. About maybe you were just far cleverer than me.
To be honest, I think I first didn't see it in the year it came out. I don't think.
Okay.
Maybe the next year or a few years later.
Yeah.
But I've marked everything in the year it came out, because the culture at the time, what was happening, determines how a movie is made rather than when you saw it.
Yeah. So yeah, I think how you view films and how you experience films changes as you as a person develop as well. And I think that's something that's made clear through looking at these.
Yeah.
And I think even what films are your favorite is a reflection of you as a person, or a different side of yourself. So yeah.
You have to be open to the changes that happen to you and how that reflects what you enjoy. and because for a long time I was like, no, this is my favorite film. And I was trying to convince myself that something is my favorite film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But no, you have to just be open to yourself and be like, look, you enjoy different things now. You hold different things to value, and that's going to be reflected in the things that you resonate with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So, who wants to sign us off?
I'll do it then.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you very much for sticking with us. It's been a journey going through all these films, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And I hope this was a good decade for you, and I hope you're looking forward to 2020 and the years to come. And if you like the video, give us a like, subscribe if you want to see more videos, and let us know in the comments if there's any movies you'd want us to watch and to analyze. That's it. Take care.
Thank you.
And then you see them however 20, 30 years later.
Sorry. It's good. Oh, your reaction was so funny.
I was like, what are you doing?
Okay, so yeah, they were in prison. Are we good? Yeah.
Alright, now I have to stop laughing. Alright.